Good evening and welcome to Alan's Italy. Tonight we are going to be continuing with our presentation of Central Tuscany. We began last week with part one, where we came from Florence down the eastern part of Central Tuscany to the town of Chiusi, right at the Umbrian border. And tonight we're going to be continuing going back up north, winding up hopefully at Volterra. We have the added challenge tonight of a flamenco dancer practicing her flamenco dancing in the community center right past the door, which is only about 10 feet from here. So there might be some tapping during the evening. I hope it's not too distracting. If you'd like to call the show, please do so at 845-679-7777. Now, I just wanted to say that, I spend a lot of time preparing for the show and future shows, and this week was a very, very good week in terms of that because, first of all, a friend of mine, Susan Phillips, decided that she would like to give me her pictures of the Amalfi Coast and Sorrento and Capri and Positano and Pompeii. So she was at the house last Saturday and we worked out a lot of things, and that will be a future show, so that was really good. My wife and photographer of all these wonderful, great pictures, at least most of them, Laura Gerton, also a well-known artist in the area, has consented to come on the show in June to do an interview on her photography. And she's going to bring her favorite photographs and maybe some of the books that she's put together, the photo albums. So that was good. And then this week, I had a birthday a couple of days ago, and my friend Rick Hurst, who you've met on a couple of occasions, gave me this incredible book on the Etruscans. This is a show that I'm going to be doing in a couple of months on the Etruscans, and we're going to be making a trip to Rick's area, which was a very big Etruscan area during the first millennium BC. So I'm reading this book, trying to get through it, and then when we go to Italy this May, we're going to be taking a lot of photos of some of their necropoli and some of the famous museums in that area. So that's going to be pretty exciting. And finally, a show I'm having in a couple of weeks on the eastern Tuscany area. I'm going to be again calling my friend Luca, who lives in Florence, who lives just south of Florence, and he will be on with me, helping me to narrate an area that he refers to at the area of his ancestors. So that should be pretty interesting, and I'm looking forward to that. So without further ado, I think we need to get into tonight's show because we have a lot of material to cover. As a matter of fact, one of the things that I've had the most difficulty with over the past week is cutting out some pictures. I had so many pictures of central Tuscany. You see one of them there that I had to remove some because I just had too many and I knew that I'd go way, way over. So I'm going to be showing these pictures. Now, if you remember, let me just go on to the next one. Again, this is Italy. That's the way the country looks, as you all know by now. And that's the area of Tuscany that I indicated last week. And this is a more detailed version of Tuscany, showing many of the towns that we've been to already, and we're going to go even further. And then, of course, I have this makeshift map that I created, which shows that number 2 in the middle, and that is the area that we will be doing tonight. We started it last week, and we wound up at Chiusi, and we're going to continue with that. And this will be the route of tonight's show. If you see that at the very top is Florence, and then there's the route that we take following the arrows right down to Chiusi. And tonight we're going to be driving from Chiusi to an area known as the Val d'Orcia, which is a beautiful area of Tuscany. We'll be visiting some towns, and mostly we'll be going through some incredible landscape. So, without further ado, let's talk about driving through Tuscany. Now, there isn't much to say. The landscape is beautiful, and occasionally I'll intervene with something to say, but I wanted to just tell you that Laura and I have three ways of exploring Tuscany. You know, one of the great things, one of the great experiences we have is renting the car and driving all through these beautiful landscapes. And we'll be showing you some roads and some views, such as this one. And Laura and I have three ways of exploring Tuscany by car. One of them is to spend the entire day just visiting little places along the way to our final destination, and then getting to the destination and spending the next day in the town. Another way of doing it is to get right to the town without stopping along the way, and then staying overnight, and then the next day we would visit all the small towns around there, and then we'd stay an extra night. I like that method because it gives us an opportunity to get to the town. I like getting to the town, kind of settling in, and then the next day we would be traveling around Tuscany. The third way, of course, is to just kind of take one night in various places. These are all views of some of these scenes that we pass going through Tuscany. This is one of my favorites with the house on top. But spending one night in a Tuscan town and just, kind of town hopping from different places, seeing one town, sleeping at another, then the next day going to a town, sleeping at the next, and we go around from place to place. But this is really a compilation of many of the different trips that we've taken. This is a scene that I've seen many times on the internet. This is the best scene I've seen so far because we actually took this one. And this is the iconic Tuscan scene. I saw a view on a book that I'm reading now, and this was the scene on the cover, and they call it the iconic Tuscan scene, and you can see why it is. It's the townhouse with the farm right there, or villa with the area all around it. This is a typical road traveling through Tuscany. You could see that it's not a very well-paved road. This is one of the things I'm not totally thrilled with, is driving through, the Tuscan landscape, and you don't get the best roads very often. But, it's worth it because these are some of the scenes that you get to see in the central part of Tuscany, headed north from Chiusi to the Val d'Orcia area. And there's another landscape scene, and I'll let you, kind of look at those scenes. The thing is that when I'm speaking, it's drowning out the flamenco dancing, which is, that's good. You can possibly hear it in the background. This is a Tuscan scene, of course. This is a town. You go through many small towns along the way, and this is one of them. And some of the towns I will know the name of because I remember them, and some I won't. I'm not sure of the name of this town, so I can't tell you either way. But, this is what it looks like going through one of the really small towns, going through this area of Tuscany. And the roads, as you can see, are quite empty. Most of the trips that Laura and I have taken to Tuscany have been during the winter, the month of January, so the roads are pretty empty. And there's not much going on. This is a scene I did not take out, even though you could see that there are electrical wires in there, but this is what you get. Driving through Tuscany is not simply pristine, magnificent landscapes. It also consists of seeing some of the modern technology that we have to deal with, namely telephone poles and telephone lines and electrical lines. This is another view. This is a better road, obviously, because it has the white line and it's kind of paved, which is always great. Okay, this is a town, again, and I keep, if I don't know what a town is, or a monastery, we're going to come to some monasteries tonight, I usually email the name of the town to my friend Luca, and Luca couldn't even find out, couldn't even figure it out himself, and he has a whole group of people at the hotel. So I'm not even going to hazard a guess because I'm just not sure. But this is a typical hill town in that region. It could be, well, I don't think it's San Coricio. I was going to say San Coricio di Orcia, but I don't think it is because I don't think that we've gotten to that point yet. The roads, I love this experience of driving through Tuscany, driving down the roads. You can see that this is not a really great day because the skies are very overcast. This is a road that we took that was the scariest experience I've ever had, and I told you that there have been quite a few scary experiences because we've gone on some of those hairpin turns. But this was not only a non-paved road, but it was a rocky road with nobody around it, and I was just terribly fearful that I was going to get a flat tire. And in those days, I didn't have a cell phone, so you're kind of stranded on a road like this, but it didn't happen. I just, kind of dreamed up the whole thing. This is a great spot because, as you could see, there's a pull-off on the left side, and this is great because, you see a nice scene, you want to pull over. Sometimes it's very difficult to do that because there is no area to pull over, but this is, and they do have this in Italy when they kind of create these paved side roads here, side parts that you could get to pull over. This is the abbey at Monte Oliveto Maggiore, which is a monastery that is north of Siena. Well, actually, it's south of Siena, but north of the area that we're going to be spending a lot of time with tonight. This is a very beautiful monastery, and this is the region in which it is located. Very beautiful. This is another abbey called the Abbey at San Antimo. There's the abbey kind of in the background there. We're going to get closer to it in a few minutes. And that was a really gorgeous day. And this monastery is south of the town of Bagno Vignoni in the area of Val d'Orcia. This is part of the Val d'Orcia area, but a little south of the region that has Montalcino and Pienza. That's another view of it from a distance. Okay, now the flamenco dancer is doing castanets, I hear. This is another view of the monastery. We spent a little bit of time here, quite beautiful. And this is a view going north. Oh, now we get music with it also. Okay, now this is another view of the Val d'Orcia area. This is a very beautiful picture of that region. There's another view of it. And we are headed north now towards, look at that, magnificent cypress trees. The evocative scene of Tuscany. Look at that landscaping. The landscaping is absolutely stunning in this region of Italy. The rolling hills. Some really beautiful pictures of central Tuscany. All these are taken by Laura. That's a road headed more towards the center of Tuscany. There's a little pond there in the foreground. These are some of the roads that take us through. You can see that we have not seen a car yet. This is not simply because Laura tries to make it so that the cars are not visible, but you know, there wasn't that much traffic at this time of the year. It's another hill town in that region, along that ridge. Look at that picture. Another picture of the plains, rolling hills of Tuscany with the house on the side there, right in the center of the picture. This is a great picture because you can see how the road winds around going through the landscape, the countryside of that area of Tuscany. There's our photographer, Laura Gerton, taking pictures. She goes right out onto we park the car and she just kind of walks right into the fields and tries to get the best picture. This is what she was photographing, which is a really beautiful picture with the shadows on the hills. Get another shot of it from that vantage point. Stone houses along the roads, very beautiful. Farmhouse right there in the center. This is not a house that's inhabited at the current time. This is looks like an abandoned house, but must be very old. There's some sort of a castle, but I was unable to figure out what this was. But these are some of the scenes you see along the way, which is, really amazing. Another view. A crossroads. And now we've come to an area known as the area around Monte Amiata. Monte Amiata is the tallest mountain in central Tuscany. And we drove in that direction with the intent of going through the town of Abbadia San Salvatore. This is the town that I just mentioned. And this is not the most beautiful town around the mountain, but this is the town that we decided to go through because it was the shortest route to our next destination. We didn't take very nice pictures of the town, but this is what the town looks like. These are pictures that we took along the way. And it was a very busy town that day, and I'm sure we didn't see some of the really beautiful sights that there are to see in this area, but in this town. But these are some of the sights in the town, some churches. And then we pull out of the town and head north down this incredible road. Look at this road with the cypress trees on either side, headed north towards the town of Bagno Vignoni. This is one of my favorite sights in all of Tuscany. This is driving through this road. And we wind up at the town of Bagno Vignoni. Now, we're going to be doing a lot of towns tonight, so I wrote some notes. Forgive me, please, for looking at the notes here. But this is, of course, in the Val d'Orcia area. And this is, Bagno Vignoni is in the route that the pilgrims followed when they were headed from the north to Rome. So this was a site that they stopped. And this is a very beautiful town. This is perhaps my favorite beautiful town in central Tuscany. This is Bagno Vignoni, where we stopped many times. And this is called the Square of Squares because this is a thermal bath right in the center of town that some very famous people would come down to bathe in the waters, namely Pius II of the Piccolomini family, Santa Caterina of Siena, Lorenzo de' Medici came down here. So this is a very famous thermal bath location. Beautiful stone houses surrounding this square of squares, as they call it. And as you can see, this is, clearly a beautiful town to visit. and again, very uncrowded, and yet we were here in mid-October, so this is a more popular time, but not too many people know of this. This is the group of people that I've shown you many times. That's Laura, going counterclockwise. Laura, our very, very close friend Randy, her son David, and congratulations to David. He was just admitted to many, many fine colleges. He's off to college next year. And of course, me right there in the front. And we were in this outdoor place. We were infested with flies and had to run inside. So this idyllic lunch that you see about to take place would end in about 30 seconds after this photo was taken as we all ran inside. We then get on the road and we're headed towards the town of Montepulciano, and you could see that the top sign, again, this is one of those signs with a million places, and you have to look quickly. So, Montepulciano to the left, and that's where we're going. And we come to the beautiful hill town of Montepulciano. It seemed high to me at the time, high up in the mountains, but this town is 2,000 feet up, so this is really quite high. My friend Rick lives in a town near Lanesville that is about 1,300 or 1,400 feet up, and they get plenty of inclement weather, but this is even higher than that. The town of Montepulciano, this was of Etruscan origin. It was begun in the 4th century BC. The Medicis eventually took control of this town, and this is what the town looks like. You don't get a chance to see this town, unfortunately, because this is an aerial view, but this is how beautiful this town looks. It's like along a ridge, and it kind of runs lengthwise, and it's a very beautiful town. This is a church which is just outside of town, called San Biagio, and this is one of the most famous churches in central Tuscany. And these are 3 videos that I've laced together. And this is, there's some commentary here which we could show. You could show have the video. And it's me narrating a couple of things. First of all, I narrate the main square, the Piazza Grande. And then I show you walking to our hotel, walking into the hotel, which was a 13th century monastery, and then speaking with the owner of the hotel, who asks me how our lunch was because he recommended a beautiful place, and then we talk about that a little, and then we go into his lobby of the hotel and then up to our hotel room where I'm going to show you the view from the hotel, from the room we had at the hotel. So let me begin that, and I'll stop talking now, and you could watch and listen. Asking that question by now. We are in the town of Montepulciano. We were supposed to be traveling around the countryside with Joe and his antique classic cars, but unfortunately there's so much fog in the valley that we're not able to travel. So we're here in Montepulciano, spending the day and having a really nice lunch. And now you're looking at, you can do a span of the place. This is the Piazza Grande, which is the main piazza in Montepulciano.
There's some construction going on also.
Ubiquitous construction. Right behind us is actually the Duomo, which, it's nothing special really. It's, as Duomos go, it's just a regular Duomo. It's got some paintings by some very minor type painters of the Tuscan Renaissance, not Florentine, but there is something by Andrea della Robbia, a porcelain thing. His brother Luca was busy that weekend, so he came down and did it. So, and now I think we're going to do a video of the hotel. So let's walk to the hotel a little and maybe give you a little idea as to what we have to go through to get to this place, which is not a small feat. We have small feet, but...
Yeah, 1 second. You can get the
Still on?
Yeah, it's still on.
We're walking to our hotel in Montepulciano, the name of the hotel. Oh, there goes the... They already rang that about 2 minutes ago, but they're ringing it again because they just have nothing better to do. This is the Hotel Mueble Il Riccio. This is a 13th century seminary, the fellow told us, and we're now going in the front door. It's quite amazing. There's a little garden here, a little loggia.
Yes.
This is amazing.
I want to get the mosaic. All right.
This is an amazing place. This is owned by Gio and Ivana, who are very nice people. We're now going into the hotel, which requires that we actually have to go up these steps, which we are now doing. We're going up the steps, and then we have more steps to go up. This is not even, we're not even at the hotel yet. There's all kinds of construction taking place. Get in.
I'm turning
I'm
this.
taking a video. One second. Come on.
Say hello.
Come over here. This is Joe, the owner of the hotel, along with his wife. He's a wonderful man.
Thank you.
And we're coming into the hotel now.
Okay. And the
How lovely.
lunch is good?
Oh, beautiful.
Bene, perfetto.
Peachy,
Peachy.
pomodoro.
Pomodoro.
Very good.
Oh, very good.
Very good.
Okay.
So Laura's taking a video now. Don't leave anything out. It's such a beautiful place.
Yes. It's beautiful.
We're now going into our room. It's a very cute little room.
And you should see the beautiful view.
The beautiful view. Let's open up the window. You can see that it's very, very foggy out, but the view is a really amazing view. Okay, so that's the town of Montepulciano. And then we go a little bit to the west and we come to the next town. Oh, incidentally, in the town of Montepulciano, the famous humanist Poliziano was born in 1454. And Montepulciano is known for its Vino Nobili wine. Very, very delicious wine. Very expensive. I didn't have any when we were there because I don't believe in spending $20 for a glass of wine. But we did have the Rosso di Montepulciano, which is very, very good wine also. A little less expensive. So this is the town of Pienza. And this is, again, a video of the main square, which I'll show you now. This is a town that was built, it was actually reconstructed by Pope Pius II, and it's named for him, and he created this piazza. This is the Duomo. It's a very, very small piazza. This is the town hall.
Tower.
That's the town hall at the clock tower.
And that's it.
And it's a very cute little piazza. The medieval well over here. Stop at this point and go to, well, I'd like to stay back at that picture because I just wanted to tell you that this Pienza is a World Heritage Site. It used to be called Corsignano, which was the original name until the Piccolomini family, who produced a pope, Pope Pius II, and the Piccolomini family redesigned this piazza. That's the palazzo where the family lived. And Pius II, when he became pope, decided to redesign the entire town, starting with the piazza. And the entire town has been completely redesigned using probably the very first concept of urban planning in the world, and you know it began in Italy. These are some views from the walls around Pienza. And this is what the town looks like walking around through the town. It's a very pretty town. Again, no inhabitants. Middle of the day, middle of January, so it was a little empty. I've shown this picture before. This is, one of the examples of the steep streets that people have to walk up and down. And I always thought that the Italian people must be extremely well conditioned because these are the streets they have to deal with. Then we're back on the road heading towards our next destination, which is Montalcino, which is a little further to the west of that. Some beautiful countryside around there as well. There's a picture of me. We got out of the car at this point. You can see that it's one of these paved off-roads here, off-sides of where you could do some sightseeing. There's a picture of Laura with me taking one of the rare pictures. Very foggy day. Sometimes, you can't predict the weather, so sometimes you get some really poor weather, and that was one of them. Some of the roads heading to Montalcino, and finally we wind up in the town of Montalcino, which is a very pretty town, and Montalcino is known for its wine, the Brunello wine. Brunello wine is some of the best wine in the world. Brunello di Montalcino is probably the best wine I've ever had. I usually, again, drink the Rosso di Montalcino because it's a lot less expensive. Another Etruscan town. It was first mentioned in the history books in the year 814. It was built by the monks from the monastery at San Antimo, which I showed you earlier. The medieval walls are from the 13th century. And this is the hotel we stayed in. It's the Hotel Cesera. And this is a very pretty hotel. That's the street that the hotel is on. And even though it indicates you're not allowed to park there, you could park this, unload your luggage, and then get back in the car and head away, to your parking spot. Again, I always point this out. To me, this was a really important street because right there at the end of the street is the green cross indicating that that's a pharmacy. That's a very comforting feeling to me. And now we come to a video of the B&B we stayed in, which is, the Cesera, Palazzina Cesera, I think it's called. And this is what it looks like staying in a B&B in somebody's house, basically. You get these beautiful surroundings. I'm paying the bill, actually, so you could disregard that. This is where we had breakfast in the morning. She used to bring us over this beautiful breakfast, and that was her kitchen. Very, very delightful place, and the woman that that's me finishing that job. This is a view from the town of Montalcino. A beautiful sunset. These are some of the steep streets to get down from the top. This is the owner of the hotel, one of the owners. This is Lucilla, who was very delightful hostess. Her husband, Roberto, was also a delightful host who gave us this wonderful map and designed a very beautiful tour of the countryside for us. You can see that this is a very pretty and very homey B&B. Okay, there I write the name of the hotel, Palazzo, not Palazzina, but Palazzo Cesera. This is where we had breakfast in the morning. And this is a little more of the town. This is a drive through, and I'll let the video take over, the audio portion, to tell you where we are. Crete Senese, it's the area below Siena, on the way to Montalcino. It's a little different from Tuscany because of the brown hills and not much vegetation. Can't grow grapes for wine. Rolling hills. We'll continue. Okay, good. Let's move on. Okay, we go north. Incidentally, that area that I just showed you is the area known as the Crete Senese, which is the area just south of Siena. And it's a beautiful area. And when we get to the end of that road, we wind up in one of the most famous towns in all of Italy, much less Tuscany, And this is the town of Siena, which is also a World Heritage Site, founded by the Etruscans, get this, in 900 BC. This is a 3,000-year-old town. It didn't look like this, of course. These are mostly medieval buildings. But the people that built this town were major moneylenders in competition with Florence, and they were always at war with Florence. And especially in the 15th and 14th century, when the Ghibellines and the Guelphs were fighting, the Guelphs who were under the Pope, and the Ghibellines were from Siena, mostly. So the Ghibellines of Siena fought against the Guelphs of Florence. In the famous battle of Monte Amiata, which took place in 1260, when the Ghibellines of Siena defeated Florence. But eventually, Florence, I believe, regained the upper hand, although I don't think they ever took over the city completely. The University of Siena, which was founded in 1240, is in this town. And Duccio, the famous 13th century painter, whose work we saw in the Uffizi a few weeks ago, was a native son. And this is a very important view of it. That's the Palazzo Comunale over there on the right side. And this is a very famous piazza. We'll take a better look at this. This is a beautiful, beautiful city. I've been here 3 times, and it's not, I would say, one of my favorites, namely because it's just too big. But I do like coming here. And this is what the town looks like from above. That's the cathedral in the front. And right behind it, that open space, is the Campo with the tower that I just showed you. And this Campo is known because this is a very, very beautiful view of the Campo. Everybody hangs around here, and there are stores all around it, and restaurants and cafes. And we ate in one of them a few years ago. So this is the Campo in Siena. And this is what the Campo looks like twice a year. This is in preparation for the Palio, which is the famous races among the different neighborhoods known as Contrade in Siena. There are, I forgot to determine exactly how many neighborhoods there are, but there are neighborhoods in Siena, and they all compete in this very famous horse race around that track. And thousands upon thousands of people jam this square, as you could see, to see this race that takes place. And, the preparations for this race take place over months. And the race itself is only 90 minutes. And, of course, the winner represents his neighborhood, and there's like all kinds of parties and banners and parades, and it's a very, very special event. I've never seen a Palio, I must say, but I was here the day before they had a Palio, and the town is jumping, and they're building all kinds of stands for the spectators, and there's a lot of activity. Very, very exciting time. This is what it looks like. These, horse. This is not a photo that we took, obviously. This is a photo from the internet, and this is what the race looks like. And these guys are just, these jockeys are racing around for 90 minutes, representing their neighborhood. They do this in the middle of July and in the middle of August. And I believe Laura and I were here. I think Laura and I were here just before this in July, and then I went back again in August at another time. In fact, that was before that. Okay, and now again we're on the road. And do I have time to show this? I think I do. This is just a video going from Siena to the next town. This is the precursor of the video going in that direction.
Boca Trialia.
And sometimes you have to go up these pretty steep hills. This is one of them.
We are now
This was a really miserable day.
at the top.
There's a road with some, side rails, which is good, guardrails, which is, I always like that. But, this is a pretty scary road, namely because, it's very narrow, and, it's going to stop at that point, so I'm going to move on. But this is what it looks like when you get to the top of the road, and then you kind of get out, take a few pictures, which was very difficult on this day, obviously. And this is, we're approaching the town of Monteriggioni. And this is my narrative. You want to try the video here, see what happens?
Monteriggioni. It's a beautiful hill town with little towers around the side and walls. It was an
This is
outpost of
Monteriggioni.
Siena in the 15th century.
Coming up on it.
And this is what the town looks like as we get closer to it. It's a beautiful little town. We're not going in it because Laura's been there twice. I've been there 3 times. So we're kind of tired of it. But this is what the town looks like approaching from the west.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so that's Monteriggioni. Let me stop that video again. And you can see it in the distance there. If you look closely, it's in the center of the picture, just below center on the left side. You could see the tall, the walls around this town with the bastions over there. Monteriggioni was built in the year 1213 as an outpost of the Sienese against the Florentines. And this was right on the strategic Via Cassia. So this was a very important road. This is north of Siena. And when the Florentines were coming from the north going south to attack Siena, this was the outpost they had to pass to get down the road. And they would sort of hold off the Florentines until the Sienese had a chance to, get their defenses ready for the upcoming battle. There's a better view of it as we get closer. It's an extraordinary town. Certainly one of my favorite central Tuscany towns, Monteriggioni. That's what it looks like really up close. The walls are magnificently preserved. The town itself is beautiful, as you'll see in just a few minutes. You drive around this hill, around this road, and this is what the town looks like. This is not the view that we would get by approaching this town. This is the view that one would get from, flying over it in either a helicopter or a low-flying plane. It's a beautiful town. It has 2 gates, and this is what it looks like. This is the main square. The main square is very small, kind of deserted. There aren't that many people here because it's extremely difficult to get to. It has like maybe 1 or 2 buses a day that actually drive to this town. So, that's not too much going on. There's a church over there on the right. Right next to it is a hotel, which I almost stayed in but then canceled because of another commitment. And right across the street is a very nice restaurant that I ate lunch in once, but never dinner. And there's another view of that piazza with many more people arriving there. So, this may have been during the winter and this may have been during the summertime. You can see the people are not wearing coats, so obviously the weather is warm. And then if you go a little further north, you come to one of the really special towns in central Italy called San Gimignano. This is another one of my favorites, another Etruscan town that was built by the Etruscans in the 3rd century BC, but records of the town only begin from 900. There's a very famous church called the Church of Santa Fina, which has works by my favorite artist, Ghirlandaio. A famous movie by the name of Tea with Mussolini was filmed in this town. The town is known, as you could see in the distance, because it has these very tall towers. And therefore, this town is nicknamed the Manhattan of Tuscany. It has 14 surviving towers from a total, and the total no one is too sure. I've gotten reports as low as 72 towers in the original town to 76 towers, but there are 14 remaining, and that's why it's very well known, so people could get a view of what the towers looked like. The towers were built by the wealthy people, first of all as a symbol of their wealth, but also to protect them from other wealthy people who would, attack their palazzi, and they would defend themselves from these incredible tall towers. Look at that. The Manhattan of Tuscany. So this is a very nice town to visit, and you get the view of all these beautiful towers. So if you ever want to do a study of Tuscan towers, this is, where you would go to do that, because this has most of them. There's another view of the towers from a different angle. And then we go further north to one of the really classic Tuscan towns called Volterra. Volterra was, let me tell you this first. First of all, as you can see, this is not a photo that Laura took, because this is very fog. It's very, it's out of focus, is what I'm trying to say. And obviously that comes off the internet, and we didn't have a photo from this angle. So we decided to put this in just to show what the town looks like from a distance. And let me tell you a little about this town. The first records of this town are from, there are archaeological findings from 10,000 BC. So it's Neolithic in that sense. The Etruscans eventually settled here, and then the Florentines ruled it. And one of the great things they have here, which I guess I'll mention when we actually get to that picture, but so it was Florentine rule. This has one of the great Etruscan museums that I've seen. I was here with Lydia many years ago, and Lydia and I went to two places. One was the Etruscan Museum, which is one of the best in Italy, and the other, well, I'll get to that in a moment, is a first century Roman theater, which I'll show you in just a moment. This is the main square in Volterra. It's a pretty square, and I've been here a couple of times. These are some of the streets in the town of Volterra. And this is one of the reasons that Lydia and I came here. In addition to the Etruscan Museum, which has some beautiful things, this is an ancient Roman theater from the 1st century BC. And you could see the remnants of it. And this is, of course, a great archaeological find, because it has those beautiful columns and a few ruins. Do I have another shot of that? That's a really great picture of what the theater looked like. This is a 2,100-year-old Roman theater. Now, Roman theaters and amphitheaters were built freestanding, as opposed to the Greek ones that were built into the sides of hills and mountains. So this is really a beautiful sight, and we're going to be leaving Tuscany in just a few moments, and I thought I would throw in this beautiful sunset over Tuscany, and back to one we did earlier last week. This is actually a Tuscan scene of a sunset from the town of Cortona, and of course back to where we began. And that concludes our study of Tuscany, and I hope you enjoyed it. Of course, Tuscany is one of my favorite areas, and we're going to be doing many other areas of Tuscany in the future. Next week we have Mr. Frank Palaia, famous artist, who will be here with us to go over his Polaroid pictures again that we showed you a few weeks ago. And then the following week we have another show related to a really beautiful area of Tuscany known as the Casentino, and I will be phoning my friend Luca from the show, and he will help us do the narrative descriptions of that area. So please join us. Thank you for watching, and buonanotte e buona fortuna.
Grazie.